All right, so last time we were able to complete the design for the form parts where we worked on the mobile and the desktop. The only thing that is changing is this button here. As you can see on desktop, it's by the right hand side, and on the mobile, we have it at this center. And again, too, we started adding our JavaScript to the form. Anytime we click on the button, it's going to submit the form by printing out the input or the value that we get from the box here. As you can see, we have the value from the day input, we have the value from the input for the month, and we have the one for the year. And as you can see, each one of them here are zero because nothing is inside the box. So today, we're going to start from there by adding validation. We're going to start with our validation because there's a lot of validation we need to do on these boxes that we have here. So we're going to start with the basic one, which is when the user is not typing anything inside the box. So when you don't have anything inside the box like this, and you click on submit, we want to show error message. And again, to the color of this day and the border of any one of them that is not valid is going to turn into red. So let's start. Look at it here. We selected our form and we add the event on it. We prevent the default so that the browser doesn't handle the submission. We get our inputs, the day, the month, and the year. And after that, we clean the input value and get the data that we need out of it. And this clean is this just function here. It receives the value that is coming from the input, and it clean it by giving us a number out of that value. So trim this, and when it trim it, then it convert it to number. But if it's something that it can't convert to number or the value is not there, as you can see, we set it to zero by default. And that's the reason why we are getting zero here, because we did not type anything, so it will be default to zero. So it will be default to zero. But now we want to do something when the values are zero, because it's wrong for the day to be zero, month to be zero, and the year to be zero. So we need to display error message to the user on the screen. So let me comment out all this one because we don't really need it all. Let me just leave it there like that. And after this line, we can start checking. So for example, we can start with the day. So if the date input value is the same thing as zero, it means the user has not typed anything. Or if it's even less than, if it's less than one. So if it is less than one, let's use that. So if it is less than one, because negative value is wrong for day, so we don't want any negative value, because the user can actually type negative value here like that. So if it is less than one, we know that the stuff is wrong there. And what do we want to do when the value is less than one? We want to change this text to red, we want to change the line of the box to red, and we want to show error message under the box. Don't forget, when you are doing anything, you need to know what you want to do first before you start typing. If you don't know what you want to do, there's no way you will know what, like the code, you don't even know what to type at all, because you don't even understand the problem that you are trying to solve. The first thing is for you to know what you want to do. What do we want to do? We want to display message here. We want this border to be red, and we want this text to be red anytime the value that is inside this place is less than one. Because less than one, that is zero, minus one, and so forth like that. They are not valid as a day. So we don't want them to impute anything like that. If you want to accept zero, you can actually put, but zero is not valid for what we want to do right now. So once the thing is less, we want to do what? We want to change the line of this box to zero. And don't forget, we already have the input here. The only thing we just need to do is to talk to it. So they input, and that's why I'm separating the value and the input so that I can target them. So, and here, what do we want to do there? We want to add something there, which is a class. So class list then dot add. What are we adding? We want to add error. So anytime the inputs, or instead of us even adding it to here, we can add it to the parent itself because we have a form group, so that it will just cover both the label and the input and the text that is inside it. But let's do them separately so that we don't do too much there. So here we are selecting, or we are targeting this input, and on it we are adding the class error anytime the value that is coming from that box is less than 1. So another thing that we want to do is that there is p tag inside it. So that is, if you look at it, this input, there is a p tag that follows it. So how do we target this p tag that follows this input? We've talked about transversing the DOM when we are dealing with the DOM manipulation there. So I can, from this day input now, I can select its next element sibling that we've talked about. And what is the next element sibling? Is going to target the next element that follows it. This is the input. So what element that follows it here? This is this P. So I'm targeting the P. Or you can give this in class, which is going to be maybe day error and so forth like that. Then you use it to target it. But right now, I'm using this method to target the input or the p tag that follow the input that I'm currently working on. And this one is really powerful because you don't even need to, specify the element. Whatever the input, that whatever the element you are working on, whatever the input you are working on, the P that follows it, you can target it instantly without you selecting it directly there, like that. So this input, we are looking for the next element that follows it. And what we want to do, we just want to put something there. So inner text is just going to be invalid value, like this. So anytime the value is less than 1, we add a class error to this one, and at the same time we add this text inside the P that follows it. But don't forget too, there's another thing we need to do, the label. We need to add error class to that one too. So how do we get the label too? To get the label, we have the next element sibling, and you can use the previous element sibling. So the next element sibling of this input is P, while the previous element sibling of this input is label. So from this input, we can get to this label and we can get to this P by using next element sibling or previous element sibling. But if you want, you can give them class or ID, and you use that to target them, and you put whatever you want to do there. JavaScript, you can do things in separate way. You don't need to follow the way that I'm doing it right now. But I provide this method because I don't need to start selecting multiple elements on the page, but you can do it in another way. So instead of us using this, we can use previous now, which is going to target our label. So once we change this one to previous, like this, so previous like this, but we are not changing the text that is here. So we are not changing any text that is here. What we want to do is to add a class. So this one too, we are going to call the class list on it, then add like this. And what are we adding? We are adding the error class. So anytime the value of the input is less than 1, that input itself, we are going to have class error. The next element that follows it, we are putting this text inside it. So let me expand this thing very well. So the next element that follows it, we are putting this value inside it. And the previous one, which is our label, we are adding the class. So this one is going to target the label, and this one is going to target the P tag that follows the input. So this is our input. The next element that follows it from the HTML is our P tag, which is not having any text. From JavaScript now, we are putting the text there, but the label already have the text. The only thing we just want to do is to change the color to red by applying a class, and that's what we are doing here. So select the previous one of this input and add a class error to that element. So going back to the page now, and going to our HTML code, then let me inspect this box. So as you can see the box right now, expand. As you see label, there is nothing like class on it. The input too, there is nothing like class on it. And lastly, let me move this one down. You can see the P currently, there's nothing inside it. But now let's click on this button. If everything is working correctly, once we click on this button, can you see what is happening now? The label, the class error has been added, the input class error added to, and our P is now having the text. And as you can see, what is going on here. So when we press this button, and if what is inside it is less than 1, because anytime you don't put anything inside it, the function that we created is going to put the value as 0. So since 0 is less than 1, it's going to apply what we have here. So if the value is less than 1, the input, we are adding class error. The element that follows it, we are putting this message inside it. And the one that comes before it, which is the label, we are adding the class error. And as you can see, everything is working. But why is it showing all this thing? Is because we've done all this thing already in our CSS. So we've done all this thing before. Not that it's doing it automatically. It's because of the way we've arranged our CSS. So if you look at it, the P, the color is always this red and it's in italic. And for the input, as you can see, anytime it has class error, the border color will change to red. And for the label too, so scrolling up, as you can see, anytime label have class error, the color too is going to change to red. But now we are using JavaScript to make this thing to be dynamic, not that it's going to happen when we load the page. No, the only time it will happen is where is when the data that is sent here is not valid. But there is a problem here. There is a problem. What if we input the data and we press enter? You see that the stuff is not correct, but the error is not going at all. The error is not going at all. So that's the reason why here we need to put S. Because if there is no error, we're supposed to clear whatever that is there before. So I will just copy everything here like this, move it down. Instead of adding, I'm going to remove error. So when there is no problem, we need to remove any error that is there. In case there is error there on this element, remove it. The same thing too with the input. So if there's no error, just returning back to empty text like that. And for this one too, we remove it. So what this thing will do here is that if the value is less than 1, all this thing will happen. Then the value is not less than 1, all this thing will happen. And that's what is going to clear our value when the input is actually correct there. So save this stuff, then clicking on this, the data is not correct. But once we input the correct data like that, as you can see, it will disappear, because here now it's seeing the value as 3. So since the value of 3 is not less than 1, then it's going to perform what we have under the S. And what are we doing there? We are removing the class error if it is here. Again, we are setting this one to empty string if it is here. And we are removing the class error on our day label. But it's not enough that the user can input wrong stuff. They can put the correct stuff. As you can see, it will still do the normal stuff, because when you put it for the first time and the data is right, it will not still do this one. What it's going to do is what we have there. And you know that all these things are not there before. So JavaScript will just skip, because remove, when you're using remove, when that stuff is not there, it will just leave it and go like that. But if it is there, then it's going to remove that particular value. But for this one, it's always going to set it to empty, but it's empty already, so you will not see any changes on the screen because there is no error here. So since there is no error, then it will still look the same, even though the stuff is changing. But because they are the same thing, then you won't see any difference. So what we did for the day now, we need to do the same thing for the month too. So as you can see, the month is not having anything, and the year too is not having anything. So let me add a comment here. So this is first validation for the input, because we are going to have a lot of validation there. Normally I'm supposed to do it in a more advanced way, but we are dealing with basic stuff, so we are going to be doing them one by one. But if I want to do it myself, I don't need to be doing copy and paste like this. What I will do is to create a function, then based on what you send it to it, it will arrange the stuff automatically. But since we are dealing with basic stuff and this we are learning, so I will not skip some stuff that I don't need to do there. So we are dealing with basic stuff. So yeah, this is going to be the first validation for month. So instead of this thing to be day now, we just replace it with month uh, input value. And the same thing here too. Anyway, we have this day in this place, we just change it to month input. As you can you see that I don't need to change everything in front of it. The only thing I just need to change is this one. And that's the reason I'm using this previous or next. As when you grade all those elements, the classes now, you have to be changing the classes and do a lot of changes. But with this one, is the input that is determining the element that I want to target. And once I change the input here from the day to month, all this next and previous will be talking about the one that follow month, not the one that follows day. So this is the advantage of using this transversing the DOM, because it's always based on the element you are talking about there like that. So save like this, going back to the page again, click. As you can see, it's doing it for both the day and the month, but it's nothing for the year because we don't have that validation there. So let's duplicate it again and add it for the year too. So this one too is going to be first validation for year input. So year instead of month, I'm going to select all this one and change it to year. So save like that, and going back to the page, you see that we now have the validator for, or we have the validation for our input when the user did not input anything. Even if you press space bar, it will still see it as invalid, because in our clean data function, as you can see, we are trimming any space that you have there. So if you just have only space, it will firstly remove all those space there, and then that's when it will now convert it to a number. And since you don't have anything, it will return 0. And since it's 0, 0 is just number 2. So everything will still be 0, and that's the reason why you are seeing here is still 0, even though I have space there. So it will still see it as 0. But what if you type something? What if you type something inside the box? As you can see, it's accepting it, but this is wrong data. This is not type of data we want. We don't want the user to be typing TE or wrong nonsense like this. Whatever the user have to type have to be number. So whatever the user is going to type, it needs to be a number. And I've told you one of the simplest ways of checking whether something is number or not is just by supplying it to this number function here. So for example, if you pass ABC into it, as you can see, it will return none. So which means whatever you pass into it is not a number. That's what this none. None means not a number. So that's the full meaning of this NaN. So that thing is telling you everything that you pass or what you pass inside this box, it can't convert it to a number. But if you pass something that is number, for example, 2, 3, whatever stuff, as you can see, it will convert it to a proper number. So it's going to convert it to a proper number. So we don't want the user to be able to type nonsense like this. And again, too, whatever the user will type, it must not pass 2 character, because they is just 2 character. It can be less than 2. We don't want it to, or let's just accept 1. So we're going to accept 1, but the maximum value that you can type inside this box is going to be 2. For the month too, is going to be 2, but for the year, as you can see, is going to be 4. So whatever you want to input here must be 4. It can be less than that, and it can be more than that. So we can do this check from JavaScript, or we use what HTML is giving us there. We can actually do it too through HTML by using some of these attributes on your input. So this is our input here. We can actually talk to it that we don't want it to accept more than this number of character on a line, and that's what we call this max length. So what is the maximum length of character do you want to collect there from this box? So we want to. So whatever the user have to type inside the box can be more than this. So the maximum is 2 character. So inside the box, you have to type, or you can't type more than 2 character there. So going back to the box again, so if you type 1, it will accept it because we did not mention anything like minimum. But if you want a minimum too, you can specify it by using min length. But yeah, 45. But after this side, as you can see, I cannot type. Typing on my keyboard right now, but it's not putting anything that I'm typing, because here from the HTML, we say the maximum stuff that will be inside the box is 2. So this one now has solved that problem for us. We don't need to add the JavaScript for that. So from your input, you can specify the maximum number of character that the user can type there. And once you get to that number, they will not be able to type again inside the box. That's what we need to do for our month too. So for this input, we don't want them to type more than 2. So max length here is going to be 2. So for the day and month, you can't type more than 2. For the day and the month, you can't type more than 2. So for the day and the month, you can't type more than 2. So if I type 9, it will accept. 98, it will accept. But now, any other character, it's not going to take it because the maximum is 2. But for the year, this one should be a minimum of 4 and maximum of 4. So what that means that you can't go less than 4 and you can't go more than 4. So we can use min length. So the minimum you must type is 4. And at the same time, the max length is going to be 4. Like this. It's not max or min, no, it's max length. We are talking about the length, not number that you are typing inside the box. We are talking about the length of the character that you are typing in the inside the box. So for the year, we want minimum to be 4 and we want maximum to be 4. So if you type less than 4 and you press this thing, can you see? It will not allow you to submit because the length must be 4. The minimum must be 4 and at the same time, the maximum is 4. So you can't go more than 4 and you cannot type less than 4. So we have this one handle for us from the HTML. So we don't need to use JavaScript for this. But there's still a problem. As you can see, there's no way you'll be having day and day is not 32. It's not possible. So it's not making sense that the day is going to be 32. So the maximum day that you can have there is 31. Again, too, for the months, the maximum value that you can have there is what? Is 12. And for the year, that one, we can't just limit it. So we just accept it like that. But if you want to limit it to, it's something you can do based on requirement. So if they don't want people that want to register to be, less than 18, you know that you have to calculate the year based on the current one. Then you subtract it by 18, and that is going to be your minimum. But here, we don't care about the age you want to use, the year you want to use. As long as it is 4, then we'll use that one to calculate the stuff. But again, if you still want to add validation that whatever year they want to impute have to be 19 something something like this, or it have to be 20 something something like this, or and so forth like that. So you can add that validator, but I'm not going to add it because here it's not that easy to just constrain. So it all depends on the application requirement that will determine where you want to stop the year. But for the day and month, this one is clear. It's always going to do it for us. So let's add this validator to this day and month. Whatever you want to impute here, first of all, it must be a valid number. Like, let's do that one first. So whatever stuff you want to impute inside the box have to be a valid number, because user can still type letter, which is wrong. There's no way CX will be representing days, or there is no way AB will be representing month, or ABCD will be representing year. So we don't want anything like this. We don't want the user to type anything that is not number there. So how do we convert this in? So first of all, let me press enter. As you can see, what is returning back? When you input something that is wrong, as you can see, what we are going to get back is none, because none just means that this thing is not valid. So it cannot convert this ABCD to number, it cannot convert this AB to number, and it cannot convert this CX to number like that. And we can actually use this thing to check, because we can use this or, as you can see, anytime we have none or 0, what we're only going to get back is this 0. And we can use it inside this our function here, where we are doing the cleanup. So when we are doing this cleanup, we are checking if whatever that is coming here is a valid number. If it is valid number, it will return it. But if it is not valid number, then it will return 0, which means everything will just turn to invalid, which is the error that we've set up already at the top there. So let me save this. What it's doing here is that we are converting the value into a number. But if this number cannot convert it, what you get back is NaN. And when you get NaN, you can compare it against 0. So when you have NaN, you can check it with 0. So if you have NaN and you have this 0 and you have this OR there, it will always return 0. But if you have any other number apart from 0 there, or apart from noun, you see that it will return that value. If it return 3, it will return 3. But if it is noun, it will always return 0 back, because this thing is just like false. If you pass it to Boolean, that's what is going on there. So if you pass this thing to Boolean, as you can see, it will return false. And I've already explained what this OR is doing. The value is going to return. So if the value here is false, it will return what you have on the right. But if the value you have on the left is true, then it will return that value. So you can watch the video again to see what is going on there. So that's what I'm using on this line. So try to convert the number. If you can convert the number to a proper value, return it for us. But if you are getting NaN, then just return 0, so that this validator can kick in. Because once you return 0, then it's none less than 1, and it will tell them that they are imputing invalid value. So here now, if I put ABC and press enter, as you can see, it will still see it as invalid value, because when the thing is coming back, it see it as none. So this is NaN, then it will just return 0, not that it will be returning NaN that it was returning before. So if you input anything that is not number, you get invalid value. If you put value, it will work. The same thing here. Even if you put this A1, this is still wrong, because A1 is not a value. But if you put 11 here, as you can see, it will work. The same thing for the year, ABCD or ABCE, it's invalid. Even if it is if you have number anywhere there like that, but it's going to be a problem here. What if you have 11 ABC like this and save like that? As you can see, we still have 0, because it cannot convert the stuff. But remove this stuff, try to submit, it will not go, because it have to be 4 values. So putting 1167 and save, as you can see, it will work, because we are only expecting number, and that's the reason why I have this clean. So the job of this function here is to clean the value that the user type. And where are we getting the value, or where are we using it? It's being used at the top here. So we are using it at this top here. So whatever you pass inside the input, we get it and we pass it to this function, and it will return back the value based on whether that input is okay or not. And it's that one too is based on the condition we have here. So convert it to number. If it is valid, return it. But if it's not valid, just return 0, because we are returning the value on this line. So if you input anything in there now that is not number and you submit, you are going to get error for invalid value, because we assume that anything that is not number is just 0. And again too, in our code, anything less than 1 is not valid too. So we show error. So that one has been taken care of. So we started with the one with no value by adding the validation there. Again, we have validation for only 2 values. You can't type more than 2 for this one. And at the same time too, you can't type any other thing apart from number. It's still invalid there, because we've turned it to 0. Once we type anything that is not number, we turn it to 0 with our clean function there that clean the value. So another thing that I mentioned that is going to happen here is that whatever value you want to input here, it can be more than 31. Like you can't go more than 31, because the maximum you can get here is 31 and the minimum you can get there is 1. So we've handled the minimum one, but we did not handle the maximum one. So here now I can still input 32 and it's going to accept it there. As you can see, it's accepting 32. If I put 36, it's going to accept it. So putting 78, it will accept it. But this is wrong. There's no way they is going to get up to this one. We want to stop at 31 there like that. So how do we add this validation? So let's just copy what we have at the top here. So let's go into this one, and I'm going to duplicate it. Or I'm not going to duplicate, I'm going to add another condition here. So else if we've talked about all this in, which is what you can use to add multiple conditions, but only one of them will be performed at a time. So if it is this one that is seen first, it will perform everything here. But if this one is not, if the condition here is false, it will check for this else if. If this one too is false, that's when it will go to the else. But if this one is not false, then this is where it will stop, and so forth like that. So I will just copy the same thing we have here and input the value. So here, what do we want to do? So if the day input value is greater than 31 like this, we know that there is a problem. So what do we want to do? The error message will be different. So here we are going to have max day is 31 like this, but I see some other error that we need to bring in later on, but this is what we need right now. So when the day that you input is less than 1, we show this error, invalid value. But when the day is greater than 31, then we show this other error message that we have like that. So let me just remove this first. It's going to be validation for input like this. So all this one, let me remove the first, because I'm now combining them together. I'm not separating them again, so that we don't have too much of typing to do. So here, what are we doing? What we are doing here is that if the value is less than 1, it's invalid, because we are inputting something that we don't know about. But if you input a value like number, but that number is not greater than 31 for the input, we know that that one too is wrong. That's not a valid this thing there. Based on our application, we don't want to do conversion for them. So input value from 1 to 31. Anything apart from that is just invalid. So as you can see, invalid value. And if you input 45, this one now will now be, and you see the error message has changed. Max day is 31. If I input 4, then everything will now work, because 4 is not less than 1, and at the same time 4 is not greater than 31, so it is valid. But if I input anything like greater than 31, maybe inputting 32 like this, so press enter, as you can see, it's going to give error that the max day is 31. But later on too, we still need to check for the month, because when you're dealing with February doesn't get to 31. The maximum is 29, depending on the year, the leap year. But we're going to see how to handle that one later on. But for now, we just assume that the maximum day is going to be 31 like this. So input the correct one and press enter, then it will accept. The same thing too for the month. So that one, it's going to be 12. So when you're dealing with month, maximum is 12. So once the thing go more than 12, we want to show error. So under the month too, we're going to use else if. So this is another condition we want to add. And what's the condition? So the month input value. So anytime is greater than 12, we know that something is wrong. So this one too, let me copy this one. As you can see, we are repeating this thing a lot. It would be nice if you put it inside a function, and that function is what we'll now be using, instead of repeating ourselves like this, like repeating this stuff every time like this. So this is bad practice, but because we are dealing with basic stuff right now, I will leave it like that. But when you are working in a real sense, anywhere you see that you are repeating yourself, you are going to create a function for it, so that it will simplify the process of what you want to do. For example, here we can have a function that generates error, or we have a function that clear the error. So the one that will clear the error is one that is under this S, and the one that will set the error is one that is here like this, or you can just set the error message, and it's going to help you to do all this thing. So if you pass the error message, if you pass this message as empty, it will remove all the classes. But if you pass it as value, then it's not going to do this stuff, and it's going to make the code clean there. I'm going to do that one at the end of the class, but for now, let's be doing it like this, so that we understand what is going on there. So the value here is not going to be this. So what we are going to use is max value, or max month is 12, just like the way we have it at the top here. So the max day is 31. Year 2, the max month is 12 like this. So remove, and let's do for the year 2. But that year, no, we can't do it for the year because we said that we don't want to add any complexity to the app. So we're not going to care about the year, whether it's above 2020 something. But again, too, we should be able to add it because when you impute a year that is greater than the current year, that doesn't make sense. We are in 2025 and you say you are born in 2027. Doesn't make sense. So we are not there yet. So why are you now? So it's not making sense. We can add that one later on. But for now, let's add this value. So coming back to the page, the first error we kick in because that's the first one we are checking if it is less than 1. But what if it's not less than 1? So for example, we have 11 here. It will accept. So if you put 12, it will accept the value. But now if you change it to 13 or 14 or any other value greater than, as you can see here, the error message is going to be max month is 12. The same thing for the day. If you impute 32 or any other value greater than 31, max day is 31 and so forth like that. So these are the basic validation that we need on our input before we start generating the years, the months, and the day based on the input that you pass here. So if I input correct stuff, 03031193 here, press enter. As you can see, all of them are valid because we input correct value that we are expecting there. And it's not a must that you put 03 like this. You can type 3, it will still work. As you can see here, we still getting 3 because 03 is the same thing as 3. So whether you type 03 here or you type 3, they are the same thing. And you know that inside the box, we say maximum is 2, not that minimum is 2. So if you want to add the minimum to that, it needs to type 2 character. You can do that one too, but that's waste of time because 03 is the same thing as 3. If they like, they can put 03. They want, they can just type 3. It will still give us the same value that we want there. So now we have a valid value. So what do we need to do next? We need to convert this into year based on the current year that we are on, which is 2025. So this is 1933. What do you do to get the year? So to get the year old of the user. So to get the year old of the user is going to be current year, then minus the date that was supplied. So the date year that was supplied to us. So here now, to get the year for this particular user is going to be 2025 minus 1193. And as you can see here, we have 32. But there is still some other thing that needs to be taken into account. Because when you are not in the correct month, we still need to remove some year, like year, based on what is going on. So, but for now, to get the current year, or to get the year old, the current year, then minus the year that is supplied. And that's where we're going to get the year. But what if the user supplies something like this? What if they supply 20 or they supply 2028 like or 2026? No, this one doesn't make sense. That you're not doing 2025 minus 2026. We are going to get negative here. So it's not making sense. So we can actually add this error. We can actually add this error into our code. But before we do that, how do we get the current year? Because this application you want to build now, you don't want to be going there every year to make the changes to the year. You don't want to be going there to make changes to the year. So once you move into 2026, you want the code to update itself automatically. Not that when you get to 2026, you have to come back to the app and change it yourself. No, we don't want to do that. You want to be able to, or you want your program to be smart and update itself based on the current year. And to do this stuff here, it's quite easy because JavaScript gives us a lot of objects out of the box that we can use. We've been using some of them like the array. Apart from array, another one JavaScript is giving to us is known as date. So this date is what you can use, as you can see, to work with the date based on your or based on the date on your system there. So you can use it to get the date on the user system, and based on that, you can extract information out of that date that the user set on their devices that they are using to visit the site. For example, here we can use new date. So once you use new date or you do it like this, as you can see, it's going to give us the current day, which is the day, the month, and the year along with the time. As you can see here, it's corresponding to my system time there. And based on this, we can get any information from here. We can get the year, we can get the day, and we can get the month. So for example here, I can use this new date, then dot get full year. So this is how to get the current year. So the new date will give you the current date that is on the system that you are working on. Then on it, you can use this get full year to return only the year instead of returning everything. So this 2025 now, we are getting it back. And based on this, we know that the current year on the user system is 2025. If I want to get the day, I don't want to get the month. So here I can use the same thing too. So new, or let me save this in a variable. So const date is going to be new date, so that I don't need to be typing this new date every time. So let me clear the console like this, and I can call my date. As you can see, it's giving out the same thing, but I can use my date, then get full year. So this one is going to give us the year. So if you want to get the month, or you want to get the month, what you're going to use is get date. It's not get day, get date. When you want to get day, the current day, as you can see here, is giving us 13. And if you look at it, today is 13th. So get date, not get day. So even though there is get day there, it will not work the way you're expecting it to. But this one is doing something else. So get day is not actually returning the day, the current day. What is returning is your weekday. So starting from 0 is Sunday, 1 is Monday, 2 is the next day, then and so forth like that. So if you open the date, Monday, that's 1, Sunday, that's 0, but it starts from Sunday. This is started counting from Sunday. Sunday is 0, Monday is 1, Tuesday is 2, Wednesday is 3, and Thursday is 4. That's the reason why you are getting 4 here. So day is returning the day of the week, starting from Sunday at 0, then all the way to the end, which is Saturday. So which is 6. The maximum is 6 there, like that. So or 7. So day is not giving you the day of the month. It's actually giving you the day of the week. So starting from 0, which is Sunday. So if you need the day of the month, then you have to use get date. Get date will give you the day of the month. Why get day will give you the day of the week. So week is your Sunday to Saturday, and it start counting from 0. 0 is Sunday, and so forth like that. So that's how it works. So what if you want to get the month? So that one too is there, but this one too get comma. So this one too get comma like that. So press enter. We say get month, and you know that currently we are in February, which is 2, but right now it's returning 1. So this one too is counting based on 0. So when you are dealing with get day or get month, the accounting is based on 0. So the first day or the first month is 0. So the first month, which is January. So January is 0, February is 1, March is 2, and so forth like that. And December is 11. That's how it works. So when you are dealing with get month, it's based on index. So 0 is your January, and 1 is February, and so forth like that. But when you're dealing with day, get dates, that one will return the correct stuff for you. It's not using index, it will return the correct date. Today is 13, and that's the reason why we are getting 13 years. So these are the useful ones. There's a lot of them there that you can use on your date. There's a lot of functionality that is giving us them, but these are the ones we need for what we want to do. So we can use this get full year to get the current year. You can use get date to get the current day. You can use get month to get the current month. But don't forget, month is based on index. That means the counting is starting from 0. So whatever this thing is returning for you, you have to add 1 to it to get the actual value. So If the thing is giving you 5, it means the month is 6, so which is June. So if the thing is giving you 8, that means it is September, which is 9. So that's how it works. So any number is given for any number this thing is giving you for get month, just add 1 to it. That's what is going to be the current month based on what you have there. And at the same time too, this new date is just returning the current date, but you can actually use it for a particular date. You can use it for a particular day. For example, here we can construct a date for what the user inputs inside the box here. So we can say birthday like this is going to be new date. So the first thing you pass here is the year. The next thing you pass is the month minus 1. So whatever you want to pass for the month, you have to remove 1 there. So if the month is June, you know that you have to pass 6. If the month is November, you know you have to pass 10. That's what this thing is saying there. And the other one is day. So when you want to construct a date based on a particular data, you can supply it like this. If you don't supply any of these things, or if you don't supply them, it will give you the current date. But if you supply it, then it will be based on whatever you pass inside this stuff here. So if you pass year, then pass month, but don't forget you have to remove 1 from the month. Then the day, once you pass it, is going to generate the date for you based on what you pass. For example, here it's going to be 1193, but you know the month now is 3, so we can't just pass 3. So this one is going to be 2, because you are going to remove 1. If you pass 3 here, that means you are talking about another month entirely, like that. So this is 2. 2 means March, 3 means April, and so forth like that. So because this thing is starting counting from 0. Then for the day, so that one is you leave it the way it is and press enter like this. So we can call this our birthday now. Can you see? So it has constructed the day. It knows that it is March, and it knows that it is this. There is no time attached to it because we did not pass the time into the stuff. And this one too, we can do our birthday like this dot get full year. And if you use full year, as you can see, it will return only the year. Or you can do birthday, then dot get month. Don't forget, month is 0 base. So as you can see, it's returning 2, even though it's saying it's 3 year. But when you're using get month, it will return minus 1 of the value, because it's starting counting from 0 and it stop at 11. And again, you can get the date, which is the actual stuff there, which is 3. So the day of the month. But why do we need all this thing? It's because that's what we are going to be using to calculate some stuff here, so that we can generate the year, the month, and the day later on. And this can help you out too to do some validation on the month of February, because some year the variable stop at 28, while some year it's stop at 29. For example, here we can use new date. So I'm passing maybe 2024 like this. So February, which is going to be 01, don't forget, minus 1. So, and here I just want to pass 0. Once you pass 0 as the day, it will give you the last date there like that. And as you can see, what is giving me is really wrong right now, because it's giving me January 31st, because the calculation, let me use 28 like this. As you can see, we are getting February 28, 2024. But well, let me pass 29. As you can see, we are getting February 29, which is Thursday. But now let me change the year from 2024 to 2025 like this. Can you see that this one did not work? So 2025 did not have 29 for February. So if you check the maximum that we have for February in 2025, it's just 28. So now I'm passing 29. Can you see? It's taking to March. It's now giving us March now, or 01 2025, because 2025 did not have anything like 29 for February. But for 2024, it actually stopped at this thing there. Let me clear this. This is not what I want to type. So change this one now to 2024. As you can see, 2024 actually have February 29. The same thing to 2023, as you can see, nothing like that. 2022, nothing like that. 2021, nothing like that. 2020, as you can see, it have 29, which is 4 years this in there. So this is how this thing works. So we can use this date now later on to check whether the month or whether the day they are supplying for February it's actually okay for that particular year or not. But we're not going to get into that today. So let's see, what do we need to do now in order for us to get the year here. So I've explained the calculation that the math we need to follow. The math is going to be the current year, then minus the the birthday year. So this is what is going to give us the year for the simple case, but that doesn't mean that's the correct year because we still need to take the account of month and the day. Because if you are born in July and we're currently in February, you still have some few months left before it can complete that actual year that the calculation is doing here. So we are going to do some calculation there by removing year or removing months based on what we pass for the day and the month and the year like that. But let's start from the simple stuff. So when all these validation are done, we want to do something. So when all the validation are done, we want to do something. But how do we know that we are done with the validation? Like, or how do we know that we don't have any error at all? How do we know that we don't have any error? So we need to have a variable to keep tracking whether there is error or no error. So this variable, I'm going to put it at the top here. So since we want to use inside the form directly, so let me just put it here. So I will put it here. So let as error to be false. So by default, we assume that there is no error. Anytime we submit a form, it will assume there is no error. But when do we know that it's zero? So anytime we get here or we get here, there's an error. So we set that stuff into true. So as error now is going to be true. So here is going to be true. But if it is here too, it's going to be true because we don't know which one is going to be true at a particular time. It all depends on the user. But if it is here, we know that there is no error. So when it is here, we need to turn it off. So at this place, the error should be false. And at the same time too, we should do it here too. So here, it will always be true when there is error because we don't want to calculate anything when there is error. But when it gets here too, know that it's going to be false. So all this one is just to check whether we have error or we don't have error in the code. So and when we don't have error, then it will work. You can see that I'm repeating myself a lot. That's the reason why it's good to have a function. Instead of doing all this in multiple times, I will just do it inside that single function. Just like this one, that if there's any changes, this is the only place we are going to do it. Where we are using it, we don't need to do that changes. So this is the advantage of the disadvantage of doing copy and paste. But for now, let's just go with that. So as error is false. And where do we need this stuff? So this is down here, we need it. So if as error or if, so what we want to do is I want to do calculation now. But the only time we do calculation is when this as error is false. So the only time we want to do calculation is when this as error, so as error is the same thing as false. So when the user did not have any error, that's the reason why this is where we want to do the calculation. So here, let me just type, okay, calculate the value. You see that this console log here, we are not going to get it anytime there is error. The only time we get it is when there is no error with any of the box, not one of them, all of them. That's the reason why we put this in down here, because that's the only time it will do the calculation for us. So let me save and go back to the screen, then press enter here. As you can see, there is no console log for that message. The same thing too, if this one is correct and the other one are not correct, as you can see, it will still not calculate anything. So this one too is okay, it will still not work because the year is not valid. But once the year is valid, like that, and press enter, can you see now the message for calculation now come outside? So that's what we have this thing for. It's just to track whether we have any error or no error. And you know that the only time we have error is when it enter all this if or else if. So when it enter if or this else if, there's an error. But when it enter the x, we know that there is no error. Everything is okay for this one. The same thing too, we do it for this, and the the same time we do it for the year. And if all of them set to false, like if all of them is saying S, it means the error or at error is going to be false. And once it's false, then down here we will be able to do calculation, because when it is false, it means we don't have any error in our application. But when it is true, it means somewhere in the condition that we have at the top here, one of them is saying it as true. So what do we want to do? We need to transform the value that we have here into a proper year. So how do we do it? We can use that date. So const bet date like this is going to be new date. What do we want to pass? We want to pass our year input value. Don't forget the year first, then the month second. So this is going to be the month input value, but don't forget it has to be -1, because whatever the user is typing, if the amount is 6, that's June, so you need to remove 1 because you have to use 5 to represent June. So here for the day, this one is just going to be the same thing. So the day input value, and this one is going to create a date for us that we can use. So let me console log it out. So console.log, so the birthday date now is going to be birthday. And again too, how do we get the current date and time? So we can do that one by just say current like this. So current day like this, but I'm going to type it like in this way, or let me put them in this way. So this is going to be new date. If you don't pass anything, it's going to give you the current one. So this, the first one is going to give us the current date, while the second one is going to give us the stuff. Yeah, so I'm changing the variable so that it will be the same thing. I don't want to. So here we have the birth date, which is based on what the user supply, and we have the current date, which is based on the current date. And based on the year now, we can do some stuff there, some calculation. And what are the calculation we need to do? We're going to do the calculation for the year. So we're going to be solving the problem one by one. So here we have 030319993 like this. So enter. As you can see, for the birth date, it's coming out based on what the user type, and for the current date is based on the current date of the system. But what do we want to do? So we want to calculate the year. So to get our year, so const current, or let's just say year, so let's just call it year. This is going to be the current date, because that's the calculation. To get the year is going to be current date, then dot get full year. Don't forget, this one is going to give us the year, then minus the birth date, then dot get full year like this. So full year. And where do we want to display it? We want to display it at this place, even though right now that's not the time we're supposed to display it yet, but let me quickly put it on the screen. So where do we want to display it? We have this our results section here. So we have this our results section. Under the results section, as you can see, we have the H2 for the years, we have the H2 for the months, and we have the H2 for the this. So we are going to select all these things at the top. So let's target them at the top. So we are going to have this const years box is going to be document dot query selector like this, which is going to be years. So we're going to do it for the month and the day. So let me duplicate it down, then select the stuff, change it to month, and for this that one here, change it to this like this. So we already have the box or the elements where we want to put the stuff. So anytime it is this, we are going to put it inside the years. So let me go down and quickly put it there, but that's not the way it's supposed to be. But for us to see what is going on, so that's why I want to just put it there. But don't forget, we are not just replacing the H2, it's the span that is there that we want to replace. So we need to target that span that is inside that box. So we're going to have the years box, then dot first element child, the first element that is here. So what's the first element that is here? It is this span. So that's what we are targeting. So we are targeting that element, and the inner HTML there is going to be this years. But it's supposed to be years, not year, because it's plural. So let me save it like this. So save the code, even though the year is not correct, because we need to take account of the months and the day, whether they are up to that or not. But for now, let us assume that the year is this. So going back to the screen, let me save it once again. Let me save it once again. Going back to the screen, So we have 03031193 and press enter here. Can you see? We have none. So which means there's a problem. There's a problem somewhere in the code. Yeah. So this is a problem. This is the problem here. The bracket is missing. Yeah. Save it again. Go back to the page and type it again, 03031193. Press enter. Can you see? We have 32. The same thing, we do it for the month and we do it for the day. And we take the account of the month that is not complete or the day that is no less than 0. Because any day that is less than 0, that means you've not gotten to that date of your date of birth. Or the month that is less than 0, you've not gotten to that month. Currently, maybe here now we are in 2 and where you are going to is 6. That will be 2 minus 6. That means minus 4. You still have 4 months left. So we need to take account of all those negative value, and we are going to be doing all those one in the next class. But before we get to that, let me quickly duplicate all this in and just add them down. So I'm going to have the one for the month. So the month like this. So for the month like that, we're going to get this get month. So get month like this. So again too, this is going to be get month. So this is going to be get month. And for the other one, which is going to be days, so we're going to have days. So this one is going to be get dates, not day, get dates. That's what is going to give you the day. And this one too is going to be get date. So this one will give us, and again we can now set all of them. But for now, this is not the way it's supposed to work. So I will just leave it like that. So we are going to have a month, and lastly we are going to have days like this. But we need to do some checking on this line first before we start doing the update like this. So we need to do some checkings and update all this value to match based on whether you have a negative value or not. Because if your month is not up to that, you are going to have negative. Like this 3 that we put right now, and we are currently in February, there is going to be a negative value, and we don't want to display negative value. So we are going to be handling that one in the next class. But let's see this one first. Let's see what is going to show on the screen, because whatever I want to pass here needs to be less than current month. But right now, this day is not less than current month. Can you see what is showing? -1 for the month, which means we are not yet there. So there's still 1 month left before the date of birth of this year is going to be there. So there's a problem with this month. So we need to get the month that is left. So since the remaining one, it means you've used 11 months already, because maximum month is 12. But you are now having -1. So 12 minus 1 is 11. So it's 11 that's supposed to be here, and this one needs to be removed by 1 because it's not up to 12 months yet. So this one's supposed to be 31, 11 months, and 10 days. But right now, it's showing us -1, which is wrong. So we're going to be fixing all this one in the next class, and some other side stuff that we need to fix, which is the edge cases that needs to be handled, because there's some stuff too that can happen with this year, like what I mentioned before. That's an edge case here. You are now putting 2028. We are in 2025, but say you are born in 2028. It doesn't make sense. As you can see, the year is going to be negative. So we need to handle all these edge cases. So months can never be negative, year can never be negative, days too can never be negative. So we need to adjust all the value based on what you supply to us here like this. So that will be all for today. We complete everything in the next class. Thank you. Let me stop recording.